First, part title. This is the template part we've been using to display the post titles. Before displaying the post title, I'll get the post date using the time function. You can pass the time a date and time format based on PHP date time formatting to display the post time in that format. I do this twice, once for the time tag and the second for the actual display, in which I'm using the date and time formatting that's been saved to the WordPress settings, get option date format. I'm using Bootstrap's built-in styling where it displays headings wrapped in small tags slightly differently than normal headings to give the dates a little bit of a different look. Next, I'm going to check if a title for the post is set. If it's not, I need to display something that will link to the full post. So I save the title in a variable with getTheTitle. Then, if that variable is empty, I still display the heading and a link, but the text will say no title. Otherwise, if a title exists, that's what displays. That's all my title template part does, so let's look at the navigation template part next. This template part was seen in a bunch of other files we've looked at, and it actually does more than one thing. First of all, if we're on a single page, the navigation links are different than if we're on an archive or blog list page. For singular posts, we use the next post link and previous post link functions. But if you want the next or previous pages of posts, you need to use the next posts link and previous posts link. So first I'm using next post link and previous post link to get links to the previous and next post if I'm looking at a single post or custom post type. This function will display a linked title, so I put it inside the page list items to get a Bootstrap style previous and next button. Next, if the WP Page Navi plugin exists, we're going to let that deal with the pagination and move on. But if it's not there, we'll use the same buttons to display older entries and newer entries links. All this is wrapped in a pager unordered list, and that's wrapped in a nav element. Let's look at the link pages function and template part. WordPress has a function called WP Link Pages. WP Link Pages allows you to display a list of pages if a particular page or post has multiple pages. There are a number of parameters that it takes that deal with how to style and present the pagination, before and after content, what displays before the link title and the link itself, if there should be specific text for the page link, and whether to echo all of this or return it so it can be used in another PHP function. What it doesn't do is allow styling for the current page in the navigation. Bootstrap allows for this, and I wanted to take advantage of this current page styling, so I created my own function. This function is literally copy pasta of the WP Link Pages with additional parameters added, current before and current after. I had to write a whole new function because there's no existing filter available for that function, otherwise I would have filtered the existing WP Link Pages rather than rewriting it. So there's this function, and we know what it does now. How does this apply to my link pages template part? First, I'm going to load my arguments into a variable. Then, if that function exists, AP core link pages, I'm running that with those arguments. If it doesn't, I'm using WP Link Pages. This last half isn't really necessary functionally, but WP Link Pages is required for themes in the WordPress.org repository, so I have to use it somewhere. Using it as a fallback to a function exists check seems to make the most sense. It won't know what to do with those current before and current after parameters, so it'll just ignore them in the off chance that the AP core link pages is not found. Let's look at some metadata template parts. There are two types of metadata that are used in the templates. Remember, one of the things that I wanted to do for asides and status posts and other post formats like that was to display a link to the post and a time in a humanized time format. So I'll create a template part called micro post meta. This deals with those little posts. It starts with a link to the post via the post title. Then I use human time diff to display when the post was published. As I said before, this is one of my favorite functions. It creates a humanized time like 5 minutes ago or 3 months ago or just now when you give it 2 timestamps. I'm feeding it get the time in the U format, which is Unix time, and will correspond with the next time I'm giving the function current time in the timestamp format, which also returns Unix time. So we're comparing when the post was published, the first parameter in human time diff, with the current time right now, the second parameter. I like this function because it's friendly. It's obviously not something you'd necessarily want to use all the time. There may be certain themes where you display the post dates with human time diff, but most of the time you'll probably want to display the actual date. I'm using it here because for those post formats that use it, aside, status, link, and quote, it makes sense not to just dump out the whole post date. And it goes along with a micro post meta format in which we're trying to minimize how much information displays. We don't care about tags or categories here, but we do want to have a link to the post, and since those post formats don't display a date above the post, we'll show that here. For other types of posts, we've got more going on. First, am I looking at a page? If I am, all I want to do is display an edit post link and then I'm done. Otherwise, I need to deal with a bunch of different situations. One of those things is that I'm going to add an option to display the post author with the post meta. This doesn't apply to all situations. Multi-author blogs would be most likely to want to display the post author than a single author blog, so it's an option. To deal with that option, I need to pull in the theme settings. Then I'm going to set up a bunch of different parameters that might be part of this post metadata. The post time for single posts, the list of categories and tags, and the author information, which pulls together the author ID to create a link to that author's archive page, and the author name. Both of those are coming from the getTheAuthorMeta function, which can be used to get all kinds of information about the post author when used inside the loop. With that information, I create a new variable that I will use later to display the post author. This is just a sprintf function that says by in a variable to pull in that author link I just created. This will get thrown after the rest of the post meta information if we're displaying authors, which I will check for next. Single posts will display 4 pieces of information, and we're loading the string into a variable which I'll use later and fill it in with those variables I just created. If it's a chat post, we're going to change the terminology to filed under and display 3 pieces of information, including the post author. If it's a gallery or an image post, we're going to say displayed in with those pieces of information, and everything else will be posted in. If authors aren't being shown, we set the post meta variables up the same way without the author. After I have this variable set up based on the type of post, I'll check again if we're looking at a single post. If so, we'll print the post meta variable, which has a string variable that gets fed the categories, the time, the tags, and the author if it's enabled, in the format posted in this category on this day and tagged these tags by this author. Otherwise, we do the same thing. Posted in this category and tagged these tags by this author, if displaying the author is enabled. That taken care of. We'll bring in the comments with comments pop-up link, which will display no comments if there is none, 1 comment if there is a single comment, and the number of comments if there are more than 1. Finally, I'll add one more condition for the edit link we displayed below, which is singular, so I can display the edit link on single posts too. Now we've got something we can start to see, but there are a few more components missing which we'll flesh out in the next few clips.